Welcome to Spiritual as Fuck.
Spiritual as fuck.
Where spirituality meets the real world. I'm Liz Volpe, social entrepreneur, psychic medium, teacher, and founder of the Intuition Academy. I am passionate about inspiring people to dream big and change the world.
I'm Dianne Driscoll, a coach, facilitator, keynote speaker, and self-directed healing practitioner. I am fascinated with all things science, spirituality, and self-leadership, and love the journey of incorporating my spiritual gifts into my life and business.
We share real and raw spiritual stories, give you a safe space to challenge what's normal, and have some serious fun along the way. If the podcast isn't enough, we invite you to our monthly online events and workshops with some of the world's best spiritual teachers.
Plus, join our Spiritual Renegades community and get bonus episodes and lots of exclusive content. Everything you need to be spiritual as fuck. Before we jump into today's episode, we would like to remind listeners that tickets are now available for our upcoming Supercharge session on Wednesday, 16th of October. Join us for this practical session where we will take 30 minutes to cut those energy cords. Link for tickets are in the show notes. Today, we delve into the world of Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique, also known as QHHT. However, today's episode is a little bit different. Past life regression, and in particular QHHT, have been a shared topic of fascination for Liz and I. And I recently underwent a QHHT session with Claudia Orellana, an incredible QHHT practitioner. In today's episode, Liz interviews Claudia and I on my session, asking questions on both sides of the experience. Claudia is originally from Guatemala, and she has a deep connection to her Mayan heritage. She now lives in Sydney's northern beaches, where she has her QHHT practice along with alternative therapies. And she is busy preparing to launch her new book, The Secret Power of a Mayan Princess. For those interested in learning more about the session, I will be making my QHHT recording available to members in our Spiritual Renegades online membership community.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Spiritual as Fuck. Today we have a really special episode. Now, it had been planned all along that it was going to be just Dianne and I sat here today, but we actually have a special guest that we have managed to bring in a very short notice. So firstly, I'd just like to say hello, Claudia. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you, Liz, and thank you, Dianne, for inviting me. I'm excited.
Oh, we are so excited. And I just want to give a little bit of backstory here, because everyone knows who listens to the podcast, Dianne and I are constantly on and off the phone from each other. Whatever part of the world we're in, if we've got something to share, we're on the phone going, holy shit, check out what just happened to me. Just a few days ago, Dianne had booked to go for a session of QHHT, which we'll go into in a second. And what she had to tell me about this session was just amazing. And Claudia, she went for the session with you. So we thought, well, let's do this. Let's get you both together. And because I know absolutely nothing about this, I'm going to explore exactly what happened in this session. And I really, really can't wait to hear, because it just sounds life-changing. So, Dianne, are you ready as well?
I'm nervous, excited, but it's like, bring it on. I just know that I love looking under the covers of things. So I'm sure our listeners are going to be really interested in finding out what happens behind the scenes of a QHHT session, and then hearing some of the specifics of what happened in mine. I think will be really good. And Claudia is just a wealth of information in this area. So she'll be able to put into context, not just my session, but, so many other people that she has done this for.
Yeah, wow. And I have to say, Claudia, I went onto your website and just read your bio and was just mind blown. As a practitioner, you are someone that lives and breathes that spiritual life. And I have to say, when I read kind of your backstory of the fact that even at such a young age, like being 5, you were having experiences with angels. And you grew up in Guatemala. I'd love to start there. Can you share what life looked like then, early ages?
Thank you, Liz. So I'm from Guatemala, as you said. I since early age as five was, I remember very clear that day was my vivid experience. So I was at my house during the day, nothing like at night. And I saw to the sky, sorry, to the roof or the ceiling and the house. And there's like this, like the ceiling open it. And it's so clear. And this white light, which I haven't seen ever in with its eyes, like it's only a white that I can see when I'm in meditation a few times, came and was so bright. And suddenly these angels and this lady was in front of me. And it was so much love. Like I can express the love that I could feel. And it was so amazing. And she didn't say anything. She just were there with these sort of, I couldn't see the angels as such as we know angels. I just knew there were other lights as well. But the lady, I could see her very clearly. Yeah.
Wow. And I'm just trying to imagine myself, I'll put myself into being 5 and experiencing that. As a child, we kind of accept everything, don't we? Did you tell your parents, or, you have Mayan heritage? Is that kind of spoken about, that type of spiritual experience?
And no, really. Well, I spoke to my parents. My mom, we grew up in a very Catholic family. So I was telling about angels. So angel is accepted in the Catholic. But also through my childhood, I used to see spirits. And
Wow.
my parents, the good thing that they never didn't believe me. They actually believed me that I was seeing the spirits. But they were more cautious not to share with more people because they will think, it's not well accepted at the time. So I used to say, oh, such and such came last night and told me this. And then that whatever thing would happen later. And so they obviously believed me because there were so many proof that I was not making up the stories. But they always said, okay, it's okay to tell us, but not tell anyone else.
You're not alone in that advice, I don't think.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So so I grew up in a Catholic school, and I started meditating by coincidence because at lunchtime I used to like quiet place, and the only quiet place used to be the chapel of the school. So I used to go to the chapel and sat down there just because there was too noisy, too crowded, too a lot of things. And because I was sitting there, it was not a mass, was nothing, nobody was there, just me. And just started sitting, no intention, just sitting. And I used to like the place. I used to like the atmosphere. And then all this information used to come, and I used to hear this voice of a man and talking to me again with so much love and wisdom and calmness. And then years later, I realized, oh, well, I was meditating at the time. I didn't know what was it. I just felt it was amazing. And I always thought it was the Holy Spirit, that they're giving taught in the Catholic religion, or my higher self. I mean, whatever it was, it felt nice. But obviously now that I want to put into place was my own meditations.
Oh, how beautiful. I mean, looking back now, do you feel that was a guide? Do you feel that was God?
I don't think it was God as such as we know God. I think we would be like a guide. And because that voice continues through my life, I still have conversations with him. Yes. So I still have that conversation, call it higher self or call it guide.
Yes.
I know that it's a male voice. And it's very loving and gentle. And yes, it's still there.
How beautiful.
It is. It is a beautiful relationship with that. With that being or that spirit or that higher self. But it's not my mind. I know that it's not me answering to my own thoughts, because I can differentiate when I am answering my own thoughts as well. Yeah. So that grew up. Particularly, I'm not Mayan as a indigenous Mayan in Guatemala. So a lot of the population in Guatemala is actually indigenous Mayan heritage directly for them. I'm more mixed when the Europeans came, and more mixed in my family lineage. But I love the culture. Like, it's such a rich culture. I love and I understand a lot of the traditions. And yes, and you actually day to day, you are with them day to day. It's in part of your life. It's not segregated because it's a quite percentage of the community is indigenous. And it's amazing. More than you study and more I study about the Mayans and all the information that they could actually reach in such an ancient civilization that Dianne was saying that she's interested in all the ancient civilizations. It's like mind blowing. It's like what happened to us. Like you go to all these Mayan sites and you see them and the architecture, the knowledge, the books, the hieroglyphs, and they weren't experts in so many fields, in mathematics, architecture, astronomy, astrology, the stars, the sun, the moon, agriculture. It's like, wow, they knew a lot of everything.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been to the Mayan pyramids and the energy.
Oh, wow.
My goodness, just mind blowing. So I can only just imagine like growing up with that magic around you all the time. Just incredible. So obviously the roots of spiritualism are there kind of right from the start with you. What led you to QHHT? And can you explain for anyone that has never heard of it, what that stands for and a little bit about the practice?
QHHT stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And it's a hypnosis developed by Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon used to be a hypnotist. And she then later developed her own hypnosis, which is QHHT. So I was a little bit resistant about QHHT because I do like the mind since I'm like 15 years old. I've been studying about subconscious mind, about the mind. Then I studied hypnosis, so clinical hypnosis, and then I continue studying other techniques like Reiki, ancestral, a lot of other techniques. But then, so as I was explaining to you before, I'm always been quite connected to that voice, whoever is that man or other man or my inner guidance self. And I actually rule my life through that majority of the times. And the signs were coming about QHHT. But before QHHT, actually, I want to say, I used to work in the corporate world. And in the corporate world, I was so stressed. I was so stressed. And got to the point that my body was, falling apart. I was pregnant with my daughter. And the stress I couldn't handle anymore. I gave birth and she was sick. Oh, she was not 100%. So she was having some breathing problems, skin issues, allergy, a lot of issues in this little baby. And I just realized that actually all the energy that I was carrying in the stress through my pregnancy actually was affecting her. So the energy doesn't destroy, only transform. And because the body is so wise that, okay, she cannot handle more, illnesses because she's carrying a baby. She needs to be somehow strong, despite all this energy to the baby. And then she was born with all these issues. So I was more stressed because she couldn't breathe properly. We were visiting the doctors. The doctors were saying, we need to operate her. And continue visiting the doctor, we need to operate her. And anyhow, that was like a very horrible time and a stressful time in my life because apart from that, my body and my health was falling apart. Mentally, I was not well, stress from work, a lot of issues around. And obviously, when you lose your balance in many ways, it's completely, all the pieces are falling down. So, but my priority was her. And I was taking another course because I like all these metaphysical course. And my teacher, now my friend, and she was like, why are you not paying attention? Oh, it's because another doctor told me about, we need to operate my daughter. And I don't want it. She's newborn, like she's very little. And the strong feeling of as a mother, I don't want to do this, despite all the fear. I'm not going against the medicine. I just, at the time, that suggestions was not suiting, was not settling to me. So she reminded me, okay, you have all these studies, you have all this knowledge, why you don't start applying it actually and start
Yes.
doing the healing to your daughter. So that's what I did. And so with her help, actually, I started doing hypnosis, well, through me, to me. And I started healing myself, not my daughter, myself, my electromagnetic field, my inner self, my emotions. As soon as I did that, within 3 days, the eczema that she used to have, like, the skin was like live, completely closed and healed within 3 days.
3 days. So
3
that
days of
quick
we were putting
validation.
creams, things, and nothing. Yeah. So that was 3 days. Okay, that is working. And I continue doing, myself, inner self work and emotional work and all this. And she started healing, and I could see her breathing better. So I didn't need to have the operation. And within months, she was breathing normally back again.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And then obviously later, like a year later or more, like I take it to the doctor again, and she said, no, she couldn't have that. Everything is fine. Like never, there's no sign that she used to have whatever they say that she used to have. So I was like, wow, this really works. So I shared with a friend. He had a son with similar issues, but the son was already 9 years old. And everything that I was reading in hypnosis is like usually something 7 because they are connected and subconscious. So 9 years old, I thought, okay, I don't know, it's going to help, but let's do it. And I started doing hypnosis to them, not quantum healing hypnosis. And I will get to your answer, please. So the hypnosis that I was doing, I was working, and then the kid was getting better, but I was doing it to the mother. And then another friend that the kid was a little bit diagnosed autistic and couldn't talk, and was like around 4 at the time. After the session to her, the kid started saying words, like basic words, like literally the next day, like basic, milk, fridge, breakfast, things like that.
Oh my God.
How by changing yourself?
Yes, the generational link. Absolutely.
Yes, because you are these electromagnetic fields, and obviously pets and animals and kids are an extension of that field that we have, and they absorb everything. And okay, so I decided, okay, I need to be serious about this. I need to start doing something properly. I want to start studying something more formal. And decide quantum healing hypnosis. You need to study quantum healing hypnosis. And then I also opened up something, quantum healing hypnosis. And I was like, I don't like that. I already studied so many hypnosis. And then this woman is talking about aliens and about past lives and about things that I'm not interested. I'm interested in the healing. And I truly zero knowledge. I mean, I didn't talk about aliens or past lives, but past lives in Catholic is like a no. And aliens, zero interested. I was zero interested in aliens. Okay. But I did follow my intuition, and there were too many signs. So I started studying it. And I signed up to the course a little bit like, okay, let's see what it is. Without even trying, and I signed up to the course. I started doing it. And then I understood why. Almost half of the course. I was like, oh, this is the healing part. This is the healing part that I was looking for, which it was like exactly was matching my need of helping others. So I need to, my need was like, I don't want any parent to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
I don't want any parent to feel that not be able to help your child. To feel completely useless in many ways, and somehow guilt, because it's like I understood that was my fault in not managing my emotions, that she was experiencing that. So I thought, no one deserved that. No one deserved to feel like that as a parent. And there are solutions. That's the way. So I studied quantum healing hypnosis. I started understanding the concept of past life, which I didn't understand that before, and how powerful it is. And this is how I ended up in quantum healing hypnosis. So a little bit
And here you are today.
Ta-da!
Oh, wow.
And I'm so glad you did.
Yes.
Amazing. I mean, I'd love at this stage then just to dive into, I guess, what this is all about. And just before I do that, Dianne, I'd like to kind of go to you here now, because you've always been really attracted to this. Like you've spoken about it many times. Obviously, I know that Dolores Canal just is someone that you've always spoken about as well. I'm just wondering, from your point of view, though, why now? Like, what made you just book the session? Like, was there a reason for that?
There was, like, this has been on my mind for so long. And one of the things, like, so Dolores Cannon's work, I have been, interested in for so long. Everything to do with UFOs, everything to do with past lives, like all since teenage years. And I've done past life regression through like holographic kinetics and self-directed healing. There are past life elements in both of those. But similar to you, Claudia, it was that there was something about QHHT that kept calling to me. And recently, because I had a trip from Ireland to Perth, and the flight going to Perth, kept thinking about QHHT, was listening to some of Dolores Cannon's work. And then when I got to Perth, it was like it kept in my mind, and it had no reason to be. It wasn't like I was looking for something new to experience. And then on the flight from Perth to Sydney, same thing, just kept coming up. And I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. So literally, the first night that I arrived in Sydney at about 4:00 in the morning, I thought, I need to book. That's what it was. I opened my Instagram, because obviously it was a bit jet lagged. Opened my Instagram, and here was an offer for QHHT. So before even contacting Claudia, I signed up to be a QHHT practitioner level 1. So that's coming out. I haven't started it yet, but that's like when I get back to Ireland, that will be something I'll throw myself into. But then I was like, oh, I've never even experienced this. I should probably have a session. Now, there is a lady who is connected to us on Instagram. She's one of our listeners. I won't mention her by name, but she is another person who got me really, really interested in QHHT, but she lives in Victoria. I'm like, I'm not flying to Victoria to have a session. So I thought, I'll just check Mona Vale, my local suburb. Looked it up, and I was like, okay, I will need universe. I need a very strong sign to tell me who this person is, that I will know it's for me. The minute I saw Claudia had Mayan heritage, for me, that was like ancient civilizations.
Oh, yeah.
There's my connection. And then I just said, universe, okay, I'm literally in Sydney for 9 days. If Claudia has availability, if I'm meant to meet with Claudia, if I'm meant to have this session, she will have an opening for me. And ta-da! It's like, and I was like, okay, there's all my signs. I'm just going to do it. And I felt this massive momentum, almost like this had been brewing, and now was the time. Now was the time. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love that. And obviously, both of you share that common theme of like, when you are meant to learn more, be there, have a session, it's just going to come in front of your face until you can't deny it, obviously. So that's so good. So tell me, let's go to you now, Claudia. Because I know that I remember Dianne saying, yeah, I've got to go for 4 hours. And I was like, holy shit, that's a really long time. Like, what is going to happen in 4 hours? What is, I guess, the need for this amount of time, and how does the process actually start? So if no one knows anything about it, what do we need to know to kind of come in for a session?
So first, I think one of the most important things is the word hypnosis. A lot of people are scared of the word hypnosis, and hypnosis is a very natural state of our mind. So we have different brain waves. So right now we are talking is beta brain wave, then we are a little bit more relaxed, like watching a movie or driving, and we forgot how we make, from the supermarket home. That is like alpha brain wave. And there's the theta brain wave. And that theta brain wave is called hypnosis. So it's very natural in us. So I don't know, some people are scared of that, being hypnotized, and they said, oh, I've never been hypnotized. Actually, you are. Every day before going to bed, you are hypnotized, quotation mark, because you are in theta brain wave before you fall asleep. And the same when you are waking up, before you fully wake up in that little brain wave is theta brain wave. So you are hypnotized every day. So it's a very natural state of our mind. But in that state of our mind, we actually open to our subconscious mind, which actually is the one who rules our life. It's not much our conscious mind. So why it requires so long? Because it's almost divided in two parts, this session. So the first part is to understand, because you come with a series of questions that you want to talk. Let's imagine that you have the person, the love of your life that is going to answer with so much love and wisdom and give you an advice.
Oh, wow.
That is your higher self. This is you, your subconscious mind. So you're going to have a chat with that.
Gosh, that's pretty profound, isn't it?
It's like whoever loves you the most, more like you can imagine. So what would you ask? So that are the questions that you come and the intention that you come. And for me to be a good guide to you, or trying to connect to your higher self, I need to understand your questions with no judgment, you can come with anything. I'm not a psychotherapist that I'm going to tell you, change this, change that, or these are the best techniques, because it's not about me. It's about only you and your subconscious mind.
Mm.
So we discussed a little bit about your life at the beginning, hence takes a little bit of the time there, and your questions, because more I understand the background, I can actually ask the questions, because the subconscious mind is not, oh yes, Dianne, you need to do A, B, C, D, which actually sometimes does, but the information will come like a dream, like images with memories. So I need to have the tools to understand it and put all these puzzles together in order to have a bigger picture.
Mm.
And then the second part is the hypnosis. And as Dolores Cannon will say, and all these interdimensional beings will say, time doesn't exist.
Mm.
So it sounds 4 hours a lot, but actually it doesn't feel like 4 hours.
I
It
think
flies by.
So
Yes. Gone.
I'm glad you kind of brought this piece up around hypnosis, because I've always had this fear, since growing up, because you see those like dodgy people on stage and they're kind of like waving a clock in front of someone and then making them turn into like mooing like a cow on stage. Like that's actually what some people think of when they're thinking of hypnosis. And I'd love you to explain, how did you get Dianne into that hypnotic state? Is it through music? Is it through words? Are you waving, I don't know, a pendulum or clock in front of her eyes?
No, it's like a meditation. It's just like the tone of my voice. So we are trying to have some tone of the voice that actually going to put you down into that stage of meditative or theta brainwave. Yes.
Right. Okay.
So
good.
it's understanding is the voice. Is
nothing scary then?
Nothing scary.
Not at all.
Dianne, so let's go to you at that point where you've kind of discussed. Firstly, I have to ask, you don't have to answer.
Yeah.
What questions did you go with?
Oh my God. It's funny. I popped them into our Renegades group, like our spiritual community online. And it was almost like I put it in there for myself to just say, okay, I'm bloody doing this. This is, this is real. And I'm putting it out there, that kind of exposing myself to say, these are the types of questions. But I, rightly or wrongly, because I had no explicit guidance, I felt like I wanted to keep them quite generic. So as in my purpose, about any blocks that I had that were holding me back. I had some that were around like family, so relationships, about moving back to Ireland, which was one of the top ones in front of mine. So, but framing them in such a way that they were open-ended questions, that I wasn't going in. So I felt very strongly that I didn't want anything that was very black and white, very specific, because I do feel that the universe is likely to provide more to us than we can even conceive of. So if I keep it broad, then things will come to me. And the fact that Claudia had brought me through so many questions at the beginning, I could see. So yes, I went in with 8 questions, but there's a million more questions, because Claudia, in the process of it, goes through multiple layers. So something I may have said in that early interview where Claudia is gathering information appears in a question later on, because she's trying to get to a deeper level, or is doing a connection between some things that I've said that are occurring in my present day life. So yeah, it's but it does, I think it's specific to each individual, and I feel the questions I asked today might be very different if I was to ask them in a year's time or 6 months time. So it's a moment in time, what's important to you.
And obviously going into that state of trance or hypnosis, I mean, I've done this in a past life regression before. And I remember being a bit like, oh, but I'm still awake.
Yes.
You know, so I'm being asked a question and I'm answering, but I know what I'm saying. And I'm sometimes questioning, oh, wait a minute, why am I saying that? I found that interesting. How did you experience that yourself?
Yeah, I found that because you hear yourself, and the skeptic, because I'm very intellect driven, the skeptic in me was, oh, how do you know you're not just saying stuff that's coming from your conscious, not your subconscious or your higher self or something from a past life? Or even in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh, surely that was something you watched on TV. Like there was a little, but then that was just like a murmur in the background, because what needs to come out just comes out so clearly. And I could hear myself. There was one point where Claudia had asked me a question and I was saying something about activating my psychic gifts. Now, as I was saying this, I could feel my, conscious self resisting saying the word psychic gifts. And I laughed and said it to Claudia in the interview. It was like, I can actually feel the difference between here's my subconscious speaking or my higher self speaking, and then here's this intellect that sometimes is still trying to control the session. But for the most part, you just go into this place where you're trusting and it just comes out. It just flows out of you.
Oh, wow. Claudia, how do you kind of start those sessions once you got Dianne into that hypnosis or that hypnotic state? How do you lead in? Like, are you going, bang, let's go through the past lives.
Yeah.
Let's get to the juicy stuff, or do you kind of ease in gently?
Yeah. Well, so basically, yeah. So because Dianne has some questions, so I'm trying to get her to the best moment. Your subconscious mind is always going to bring you to the best place or the best moment, or is going to give you answers for all these questions that Dianne was asking. And also for those answers that you're ready to receive in that moment as well. So some people sometimes say that I'm scared that I'm going to receive something so bad or something scary. You won't. You will always receive something that is, you're ready to change, you're ready to receive, you're ready to make a change in your life and improve. Yes. So yes, basically after putting her into the hypnosis and the induction to go into that state, we see where she lands. And interesting because Dianne first had a couple of, I would say, stops on the way before she landed in the proper place, but they were relevant. They were relevant. This is
Yes.
so I don't know. You want to share?
Can we talk about this? I've got to ask.
Yeah. This was fascinating because I could, again, you're kind of aware of the process, so I knew that Claudia was bringing me back in time and getting me to stop at a certain point. And for me, I had this vision of Ephesus, which is a place in Turkey, an ancient site that I had visited probably 1996 or something around that. And I was very clearly standing on this processional way looking up. And I remember the exchange between us that it was, I think Claudia was thinking this was a past life. And I was like, no, this is actually this life. And almost like, and Claudia asking the question, then why are you here? And it came out later through different parts of it that I will be going back to Turkey, to another part in Turkey, and I needed to go to a time of heightened solar flare activity. So for me, that was like, oh my gosh. But what I was visually seeing at that point in time was, if you imagine really bad 80s photographs where there's kind of like a lens flare, that kind of orangey yellow coming over the photograph, that was what I was seeing in my vision. And I couldn't necessarily make sense of it straight away. And through questioning, Claudia got me to realize, oh, it's solar activity. That's what I'm seeing here. And knowing then that I need to go back at a future state for that. So that was something that I needed a stop along the way. And because the process that we go through in this session, you're almost like collecting pieces of the puzzle as you go. So it's not that this happened in a linear form, that it was one thing after the other, but that connection to Ephesus towards the very end. And the reason I know this is I've listened back to the recordings, but towards the very end, Claudia asked, why is Dianne so interested in ancient civilizations? Why was she brought here, and why is she so interested in ancient civilizations? And I can't even believe I'm going to say this, because this is what I heard myself say. It's because she was part of creating humanity in its earliest form. And I'm like,
wow.
So it's like I was part of this like a geneticist, part of this creation of humanity, of genetically modifying apes and monkeys, and then seeding them throughout the world. And I was fascinated with the ancient civilizations that would materialize to either, you know, have a viewpoint of the stars or a viewpoint of their gods, or looking up to the heavens for where they came from, that this was something that totally fascinated me. So the fact that, you know, what seemed like an innocuous, oh, you're just at Ephesus in Turkey and that's a this lifetime memory, but then that held the thread that Claudia was able to bring me back to a past life where, and the actual association of why I'm interested in ancient civilizations. And one of the other things, which was not in my questions, nothing to do, Claudia had took out in the interview, was I had a UFO experience when I was maybe 8 or 9. And literally, this was a 2-second thing in the interview. Claudia tied that I knew to ask the question, and it came out that that was the point in time I needed to be activated to have an interest in ancient civilizations in this lifetime and UFOs. So those two things, it's like I received a download through that experience. And I even remember from that day, I went home to my dad. My dad got me to draw out the spacecraft. He asked loads of questions about it. We ended up buying some Eric von Daniken books. Like, that was the thing that ripple effect in my life started me being really interested in the connection between UFOs, ancient civilizations, and, you know, the origins of humanity.
Oh, there's a lot there.
It is a lot. It gives goosebumps, you know. I felt that just for you to be the one who create different civilizations is just amazing. And it's not just like one sentence, actually explains. So it's something that people cannot make up this, you know. People cannot make up, oh, I'm going to say that I was the creator of all the different civilizations. So it is very hidden in your subconscious mind, all the memories.
Claudia, from your point of view, where's your mind going when someone's saying something like that? I'm kind of imagining me going like, kind of like, if Dianne's there with her eyes closed, me mouthing holy shit at this point. Are you making notes? Like, where are you? What's going on for you?
Oh, for me, it's fascinating. Like, I love what I do, and I have the honor to speak to different beings, to have all these conversations, and I'm learning in the process as well. So sometimes people get through, let's say, with Dianne was the higher self, but sometimes people embody someone interdimensional being, and the person start talking like different being, and you can see the shift. Even in Dianne, perhaps will be a little more subtle, but you can see the shift of energy and the words in the face, like the face change, the expressions. So I'm fascinating. Like I was like curious. Oh, so who are you? I'm an Anunnaki. Oh, tell me more about you. Like, what do you do? You know, and they start talking about all these amazing things. Or who are you? Or Dianne was Arcturian, I think, was it? Yeah.
Yes, Arcturian. Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's a learning. It's just curiosity, and I want to explore more myself. But the fascinating thing that is the information repeats. So doesn't matter. I have hundreds of hypnosis I have done, hundreds, and the information repeats with so much detail. So one of the things that actually Dianne said that I had in my own session once upon a time, I don't know, you want to share, Dianne, about
No, go ahead.
your past life, that she was saying, I'm in this place, in this mountain, inside the mountain, but inside doesn't look like a mountain. It looks like a spaceship, but outside is a mountain. And my own session as well, and actually I'm writing a book about it, is a spaceship that is camouflage as a mountain. But inside is a spaceship. And I put it in my book and I describe it specifically. And Liz was describing similar thing in another place. But it's like, what are the chances, you know, that, and this is one example. I have hundreds of examples of people repeating the same information in different ways. Like I have people who went to Egypt as a past life and they repeat the same information with details. but from the different perspective. And these people might be from all over, Sydney. One lives in Newcastle, another one in South Coast, another one just in Northern Beaches. And they repeat information like so much detail that is the same. So must be some information that is real. It is,
yes. It's impossible, right? It's impossible for that to happen. And I love that because I can just imagine that as the facilitator in those conversations, actually, you're having the most interesting experience of all, because I'm thinking about all the questions that I'd ask if I had someone laid in front of me on a couch with their eyes closed. I'm like, what would I actually want to know? Mm-hmm. So thank God you're writing a book. I won't be buying that book. But wait a minute, I just want to backtrack a few seconds here. Dianne, Acturian, tell us more about that.
Oh my God. This was, so I will tell the sped up version of this. The most significant life that I was brought back to, or the one we spent the most time on, was that I seemed to be a French slave that had been captured by Vikings and brought to Iceland. And it appeared to me in that lifetime that Iceland wasn't even inhabited, that these were some of the first people that came there. And I had to escape, but somehow I ended up becoming the leader of the Vikings. So a French person, so totally different background, like becoming the kind of a chief of a somewhat warlike nation. But where I had escaped to, there was this massive cave, almost like a cathedral. And Claudia had said that, about it, being kind of spaceship vibration or feeling of it. So when I established a colony beside this, because I could feel massive energy coming from this cave, but I became a gatekeeper for this cave. And as Claudia brought me through the progression of the hypnotic journey, it ended up being that, there's actually a portal inside this, which was a portal that when I went to it, I could see through to another dimension. And within that dimension, there were beings that were very fluid, very light. I didn't know whether they had feet. I couldn't see faces, but it was like they were in very light robes in very almost like pastel colors. And over the years of me being this chief, every day I would go and spend time observing through this portal.
Wow.
And through a lot of questioning, like this unfolded, but it was like over the years I had been modulating to get to the level of frequency because I wanted to go through. I knew that place was home and I wanted to go through the portal to my home. And then Claudia asked the $1 million question, where is this? Oh no, who are these people? And I'm like, I heard myself say Acturian. And the minute I heard myself say it, I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't know. And yes, I understand about starseeds and we've interviewed people to do with it, but it has never been an area that I've gone down the rabbit hole of. I've never been particularly interested in it. So I just thought, I don't even know what an Acturian looks like. I don't know what an Acturian kind of traits or anything. So I could feel the intellect in the background, like this little hum or murmur of that going on. But I was so convicted in what I was saying.
Wow.
And when I eventually went through, it was just the most profound feeling because it was all of the most high vibrational feelings that you could ever have. And I kept using the word benevolent. Like I just felt this sense of benevolence, like love, joy, just awe, wonder, all of those amazing. And I just felt so elevated, such a high vibration when I'd gone through the portal. And that's what had been emitting out into the community or the colony that I was leading, which changed those people from being warfaring Viking, like you think of all of the bloodshed and what you think about Vikings, turning them into a more peaceful nation because of the energy being emitted by this portal. But when Claudia then asked me later on, what was the reason that I was brought to that lifetime or what did I need to learn? And it was very much a case of that the Acturians or the beings that I was observing, all they were doing was just being. So they weren't even, there was no telepathy. They weren't doing anything. They didn't have any other purpose other than to hold this really high vibration, this really high frequency. And the message that was in it for me is Dianne needs to learn to just be and hold a high frequency. because she's always trying to do something. And through that level of questioning, it was like, and again, because I've listened to the recordings, I could hear myself saying, Dianne already knows how to do this. Dianne already knows how to hold the frequency of love, how to activate that in others. But the minute she's finished doing it, she wants to go and do something. It's like, okay, well, I need to, I need to be doing something physical in the world. And it was that contrast between the Arcturians being such their only purpose, or these particular beings that I was viewing through the portal, their only purpose in life was to hold that very, very high frequency. And that was helping to balance everything else in the universe. So it was such a lovely message. And I don't think it's even just for me. It's almost like if any of us, we're absolutely so conscious of what we do with other people. And literally I heard myself say, Dianne doesn't need to be a speaker. She doesn't need to be a podcast host. She doesn't need to be a coach. She can do those things, but she just needs to stay as much as she can in that frequency and emit that frequency. I'm like, oh my God, that is like...
Now, listeners, you can't make up that, can you? Really, like you can't make up this shit. I'm telling you now. Wow, interesting. On that note, because obviously I can hear that there's already been some kind of learnings that have come from being in the session. Claudia, how does the element of healing come or play a part? This healing component, how does it work with QHHT? I'm guessing that you're leading everyone through all of these past lives or experiences that will kind of leave your client with healing. Can you share? I guess I'm not explaining that probably well enough, but I'm hoping that you get the gist of that question.
Yes, for sure. Healing is the biggest part. As I said at the beginning, my interest was about healing of people to be able to heal themselves. And Dianne can explain a little bit more, but she can feel the energy going through the session. People can actually feel energy going when you are experiencing the session in many ways. And so the healing comes in the different ways. The healing comes in making conscious things that we are not doing in the right path that we meant to do. So while you're doing the making conscious of that things, and you change your life, or you change your attitude, you change your habit, or you start actually acting, okay, this is the answer for me to heal, your body and your life will start healing. So for example, if someone said, okay, in order to heal, you need to love yourself more. But what for love yourself more means to that person? Perhaps would set boundaries. Boundaries like what? So when people change behaviors and patterns, healing starts coming into their lives. Things start changing as the same way that almost like my daughter healed, because I changed myself. I emotionally start changing my behaviors, patterns, and emotions that I was experiencing. So that's an advice. Once you get like the higher self will give you, okay, these are the answers for all your questions. This is how you can heal, and then you can move forward. And another way is the energy can heal you straight away. And I will ask, can you heal the person today? And the higher self will say, yes, we are doing that. No, she still needs to do some work, or he needs to do some work.
Ah, wow.
There's some changes that needs to be done.
Right.
And I have seen miracles. I truly have seen miracles of people, physical ailments. Like, wow, I have seen people with a lot of physical ailments healing immediately. Other ones takes a little bit time. So for example, I have a client that she came with, like Dianne, with her questions, and she needed an operation because she had a tear ligament, completely tear in her shoulders, and she couldn't even drive because she couldn't do this. After the session, she felt better, went home, because you're getting a lot of emotions. So it takes a while to get back to your normal, because it's like a euphoria of emotions. Came back home, and next morning she woke up and she could do that, and with the arms up and down, and she couldn't. She had completed. She already booked the surgery.
Wow.
And then they did the scan before the surgery and say, I can't do my arm. And then the doctor is like, what did you do? Like, your ligaments are completely normal. Like, you never
oh my God.
broken ligaments. And yes, it was in the session. And so many others, like different ailments, and then emotional as well.
Yeah.
People with severe depression, anxiety, medicated for years. Within leaving the session, they don't need us one session, and they say, "Oh, I can see colors in life. I'm happy. I feel love. I don't need to have all this depression, anxiety." So, or other physical ailments as well. So the healing comes when you want to receive. And also, it is between you and yourself. It's not me healing anyone. It is yourself accepting what is given and doing it. And obviously, people that say, "Oh no, this is not possible," and they can have like a lower back pain, and the lower back pain will continue because they don't believe in that, or they don't want to do the changes either.
Yeah. My goodness. Dianne, how have you felt since your session? And have there been any kind of drop-ins or realizations that you feel may really impact life moving forward?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I think after the session, and I'm like this, if I do any either intensive learning or if I go to any sort of a healing or clearing session, I feel like I feel good when I leave, but I also feel exhausted. Like it's almost, you can feel the energetics working its way through you. So for me, like after I left the session, I came home, I ate, I was ravenous. and then I slept. I felt like there was a lot of integration that was needed and processing that needed to happen. And it's really good then to listen back to the recordings. So I listened back to the recordings, and because I'm very intellect driven, it was like I'm trying to analyze and trying to make sense of everything, but at the same time trusting the fact that it just needs to integrate in its own way, and you will remember, and it will activate things in you. But almost like the biggest things that came out of it for me, and it came through the contrast between my life as it stands today, also the life that I was shown in Iceland and the Viking nation, but against the Arcturians, and the message that I was being given to just be. Like that permission to just be, the fact that I already know how to hold high frequency, that I'm doing this, but I just need to do more of it. The fact of knowing that through the work that I do, or even just interaction with people, that activates others. Like they're things that before the session I would have thought, who does she think she is? Like, I mean, I would never have thought, and that was one of the blocks that, the healing component we worked through. That kind of either fear of success or fear of, or that you're just not the person who does she think that she is to be able to do these things. But now that sense of conviction of abso-friggin-lutely activating other people. If I hold this high vibration, I know there's a ripple effect that goes with that, and just trusting in that. So the sense of not having to feel overwhelmed with the doing and going out looking for opportunities, or for, kind of pitching for new business, or, the marketing component. It's very much a case of, if you live in that high frequency, you will naturally attract the things that come to you. And while I've always known, and I believed that on some level, definitely would have thought I believed it. Now I know it. Like I feel that there's such a deep rooted knowing of course, almost like I've always known this, but now I know this. It's like, it's just such a, I think a lot of the things, and maybe other people who've experienced these sessions as well, that there's like a validation that comes to you, that it's not like there was huge surprises. There was definitely some surprises unveiled, but some of the core messages are things that your intuition, your higher self has already, your inner compass has already been guiding you towards this, but you're not quite believing it. And then for some reason, when you hear back in a session, it's like, oh, I can believe it now. I've got validation. It's like, exactly. Claudia is an independent, facilitator here. She's brought me to this moment. So there's no doubt that instantly through that, even simple things, another thing that came that has given me great peace. So, and any person who's a parent who's out there who knows that weight of responsibility of our kids, and we think we're trying to guide them and we're trying to usher them through and we're trying to do the right thing for them. And so many times as parents, we self-sacrifice for our kids as well. And one of the messages that I got through was about my life path and my daughter's life path. And it was very much a case of, do not sacrifice my life path for hers. She has her own. And
that makes it feel a bit better, doesn't it?
It does, but it also set me up in such a way that when Claudia said about, we don't get bad information in these sessions, I knew that there were struggles and challenges to come. But this was almost like your North Star, that she has her path, let her honor it, because otherwise you're interfering in it. And there was just such a sense of peace that came with that, and also the fact that I was being given the guidance that I'm doing the right thing with her, supporting her. But it was a case of, nothing's going to be revealed to you. We're not giving you any more information, but just know that you hold your life path and keep supporting her the way that you're going. That huge sense of comfort and just, I feel like a weight has been, absolutely.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall listening to this session, by the way.
Well, this is something I've actually, I am someone, and I think anyone who listens to this podcast, anybody who knows me, I am a person who loves the inner workings of things. Like, I am fascinated by the underbelly. If you show me an artwork, I want to see the actual process to how it was developed. If you show me healing, I want to know how you got there. And one of the things that I kind of grappled with was, would I make my full reading available? So there's 2 hours, not the full 4 hours. Only 2 hours are recorded. That's the actual hypnotic state. And I am going to make that available to our renegades. Now, I am going to preface this with, there are a few elements that are, sensitive family information that I will be cutting out, because but the majority of the session will be made available in our Renegades, Spiritual Renegades community. Just for people who are interested in it, they want to see. Now, for some people, they'll think, oh my God, I couldn't think of anything worse, because it's like listening to someone tell a dream. But for other people, they will be absolutely fascinated and just see the beauty of what it's like to be brought through a session, because some people don't go into a session because it's the unknown. And if it can help unlock someone, help them see what's possible, see the organic nature of how it just comes to life, I think that would be a good thing to do for people.
Pretty cool, Dianne. If you're not already involved in the online community, go to the show notes and click on there, because that's awesome. And Claudia, you mentioned a book. We will definitely be putting every link possible for you as well. But when are you planning to release your book? Do you have a title or anything yet?
Yeah, the title is The Secret Power of a Mayan Princess. And the subtitle is Your Guide to Spiritual Transformation into New Earth.
And do you have a date that it's going to be launched?
Yes, hopefully. I don't have a date yet, but I hope by the end of October.
Soon. Okay.
Yeah, soon. It's not finished. The manuscript is finished. It's just, the last bits of publishing. But it is, as I say, one of the parts was similar to Dianne's about the spaceship. So basically, it's a Mayan. It's a hypnosis session has done to me. So it's my own hypnosis session. And as a Mayan princess, so I used to be a Mayan princess, and I need to lead my tribe into a new world, because there's some danger coming. So we hear all this about the new earth and the new earth. So basically, she goes through this transition of moving her tribe from planet Earth to a new planet, to a new earth. And in that transition, there's a lot of issues coming by. But then the higher self, in this case, another interdimensional being, explains why she needs to go through all that in order to move the tribe into the new earth. And I do a lot of the parallels of everybody, well, in this case, my life, personal life, of how and what means us moving into the new earth.
Oh, yes. Wow. My God, I'm excited to read this.
Yes. And then the interdimensional being, this lady, interdimensional being, came through my session. She explains almost like step by step what we need to do in order to to make that spiritual awakening, in the sense what it means to move to a new earth for us, for today's time.
I love that, the two elements of here's the past life piece and then applying it to today. Definitely
it's something that you can apply in order to change your life. So you cannot do a session or you're not convinced about the session. Actually, this will give you some tools in order for you to start changing. And whatever resonates with you. I always say, whatever resonates with you is not truth, in stone. Everybody needs to take their own truth within themselves.
Yes.
Whatever resonates to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing, Claudia. Absolutely fascinating. Thank you for all of your work that you're doing. I'm sure that you've played a part in healing so many people. And even just hearing a small snippet of the stories there, it just makes me want to really quickly jump on the internet book session. So I'm sure there's others today. So yeah, listeners, if you are in Sydney, we will obviously give all of Claudia's details as well. Thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure. And we will definitely be looking out for that book.
Thank you so much, Liz and Dianne, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. And I love your podcast and I love all the good work that you're doing as well. Because I think that communication sends so much love and that vibration of energy is felt by your audience and they can grow just by listening to you. So thank you for that.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Claudia.
That's it for another episode. Thank you for listening.
If you're looking for a place to feel at home and want to level up your spiritual game, head to our website, spiritualaf.co, to check out our upcoming online events and for information on how to join our Spiritual Renegades community.
Plus, leave us a 5-star review with an awesome comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we're going to send you a free ticket to one of our Supercharge session events.
Until next time, stay spiritual as fuck.